Mr. Speaker, can I start by paying tribute to our troops serving in Afghanistan? We owe them a huge debt of gratitude for everything they are doing for us, and our thoughts will be with them and their families who will be apart from them at this time of year. Mr. Speaker, does the Prime Minister recognise the concern there will be about the rise in unemployment of 35,000 that we saw this morning? For all those families around the country, does he understand that his confidence and indeed his restatement today that Britain is out of the danger zone will seem very hollow?
Well, first of all, let me join the right honourable friend in paying tribute to our forces in Afghanistan, who I visited last week, and also paying tribute to all of their families who will be missing them at Christmas time. And I think, to be fair, under the government he was part of and under this government, we are making big improvements on the contact home, on fax time, telephone time, and all the contact that they need, and that is absolutely right. On the unemployment figures, of course, everyone should be concerned, and I'm concerned by a rise in unemployment. Anyone who loses a job is a tragedy for that person, and we must do everything we can to help people into work. And with the work programme, we will be launching the biggest back-to-work programme in this country for 70 years. To be accurate, these are, whilst part of the figures are disappointing, they are mixed because we do see the claimant count has come down in the unemployment figures, and also we're seeing an increase in the number of vacancies in our economy. Every day there are another 10,000 vacancies. So yes, we've got to get the private sector going, increase the number of jobs that are available, and over the last 6 months we have seen 300,000 new private sector jobs. We need more of them, and keeping our economy out of the danger zone is the way to get them.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister does slightly sound like he paints himself as an innocent bystander in relation to the unemployment figures. He should not be pressing ahead with a rise in VAT on the 4th of January and 20 billion of public spending cuts. Now, I want to turn to another aspect of his financial plans. Can the Prime Minister confirm that the government is now set to break the promise made in the coalition agreement, which said we will guarantee that health spending increases in real terms in each year of the Parliament?
Well, first of all, being a bystander would be having no plans to deal with our economic problems. And the fact is, this government is cutting corporation tax, is abolishing Labour's jobs tax, reducing national insurance, increasing our jobs programme, and you can see no one should be complacent, but complacency is actually having no answers. No one should be complacent, but we do see retail sales up, exports up, manufacturing up, interest rates coming down since the election, and growth higher than expected. I'm not the slightest bit complacent about what we need to do, but let's not talk down the performance of our economy. Now, turning to the NHS, we have increased the NHS budget by £10 billion in this Parliament. And I have to say to him, there was only one party that stood on the election of saving the NHS and its spending, and it was right here. So I am confident that we will fulfil our goal of real terms increases every year in the NHS.
Well, that's very interesting that he says he's confident, Mr. Speaker. He should listen to what the Conservative-led Health Select Committee said only on Monday. They said this, that with inflation now higher, and I quote, the government's commitment to a real terms increase in health funding will not be met. Now we all remember those posters during the election. We all remember his face airbrushed on those posters. Will he now admit that he's breaking that promise?
We are not breaking that promise. We want to see NHS spending increase by more than inflation every year. And let me just be clear about who supports this policy. The Shadow Chancellor said this. It's not vague, this. It's pretty clear. When asked, is it right to protect NHS spending, he said, there is no logic, sense or rationality to it at all. So that is, let's be clear. On this side of the House, we want real terms increases in health spending to make sure that we improve the health of our nation. The party opposite is committed to cutting the NHS.
Miliband.
Mr. Speaker, I know he's good at the broad brush and he's good at the airbrush and he doesn't do detail, but he should read the report. He should read the report. He should read the report which says health service spending will be cut next year in real terms. Now, let me turn to his next broken promise on the NHS. He pledged, and the coalition agreement says, we will stop top-down reorganisations of the NHS that have got in the way of patient care. But that is exactly what they're forcing on the health service. Fewer than 1 in 4 doctors think it will improve patient services, and independent experts say it will cost £3 billion. After 6 months, isn't an old truth being confirmed? When it comes to the NHS, you can't trust the Tories.
There are moments I think I'm up against Basil Brush. I mean, first of all, when it comes to protecting the NHS, there's only one side of this House is committed to protecting the NHS spending. That is this side. Right. Now we come on to reforming the NHS. We are not reorganising the bureaucracy of the NHS. We are cutting and abolishing the bureaucracy of the NHS. Because we are making a 45% saving in the bureaucracy of the NHS, that is going to save £1.9 billion. And because we're increasing the spending of the NHS, that money will be going into hospitals and beds and nurses and doctors. All of those things would be cut if it was up to the party opposite, because they don't have a commitment to maintaining NHS spending.
Miliband. Mr. Speaker, he's breaking his promise and he doesn't want to admit it. What does he want to do? He wants to leave it to the back end of the pantomime horse, the Deputy Prime Minister, to break the promises. It's time the front end of the pantomime horse took some responsibility. Now, I want to ask him about another broken promise. The broken promise on educational maintenance allowances. Why doesn't he go a couple of miles away from here? I know he doesn't talk to students, only those in China. Why doesn't he go a couple of miles away from here to Southwark College and talk to the students and the teachers there? The business teacher there wrote to me and said this: I would have thought they'd want to listen to the fate of students and young people up and down this country. I see the benefits the educational maintenance allowance provides for many of my learners. I see how they struggle to pay for transport, books and other essentials. How can we expect them to aspire to a better life if we deny them the means to do so?
Well, the Honourable Gentleman wants to talk pantomime. I'm afraid it won't be long before he's thinking, look behind you. The problem with the educational maintenance allowance is that research shows that over 90% of those who receive it would stay on at school anyway. And so the fact is, because we are raising the school participation age to 18, it's right that we replace the educational maintenance allowance with something better targeted. But I have to say to him, he's got to look at the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is that we inherited a completely wrecked set of public finances. All the questions he asks, it's always about this cut or that cut. We know which cuts he's against, but he hasn't actually made one single suggestion of how you dig the country out of the pit of debt that he left us in.
Miliband. Truth is, Mr. Speaker, that he began the year making promises and now he's breaking them. The promise on NHS spending, broken. The promise on educational maintenance allowances, broken. The promise on universal child benefit, broken. The promise on knife crime, broken. The promise on new politics, broken. Shouldn't his New Year's resolution for 2011 be to keep the promises he made in 2010?
Mr. Speaker, I think it is put quite simply. They started the year with a leader who was dithering and had no answers on the economy. They have ended the year with a leader who is dithering and has no answers on the economy. I suppose, in Labour terms, that's what passes for being progress.
Stewart.